In the heartland of America, nestled among the rolling plains of Iowa, stands a house. An unassuming white-framed house, its exterior a facade for the darkness within. This is no ordinary dwelling. This is the Villisca Axe murder house, a place where time stopped on a sweltering summer night and where the echoes of a horrific crime still linger. The house, with its gabled roof and inviting porch, now stands as a chilling monument to a brutal crime. It whispers tales of a family brutally slain in their sleep, their dreams silenced by the swing of an axe. The air is thick with the weight of tragedy, an unseen force clinging to the walls, whispering tales of violence and despair. The Villisca Axe murder house isn't just a haunted house, it's a time capsule. A chilling snapshot of a moment when the sanctity of a family home was shattered, leaving behind a legacy of fear and unanswered questions. It's a place where every creak of the floorboard, every gust of wind whistling through the eaves, seems to carry the whispers of the departed. This is more than just a ghost story. It's a story about the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of ordinary life, the evil that can visit even the most peaceful of towns. This is the story of the Villisca Axe murder house. Villisca, Iowa, in 1912, was a town much like any other. Its residents were hard-working folks, bound together by the ties of community and faith. Children played in the streets, their laughter echoing through the warm summer air, oblivious to the darkness that was about to descend upon their small town. The Moore family, Josiah and Sarah, along with their 4 young children, were a beloved part of this community. The Moores were known for their kindness, their strong work ethic, and their devotion to their faith. Josiah was a successful businessman, a pillar of the community respected by all who knew him. Sarah was a devoted mother, her life revolving around the care and well-being of her children. They were living the American dream, their lives a testament to the values of hard work and family. But fate, it seems, had other plans for the Moore family. On the night of June 9th, 1912, the peace of Villisca was shattered, the town forever scarred by an unspeakable act of violence. The Moore family, along with 2 young guests, were found brutally murdered in their home, their lives extinguished in a storm of unimaginable brutality. The weapon of choice, an axe, the news of the murders spread like wildfire, whipping through the once peaceful town like a furious storm. Fear and suspicion gripped the community. Neighbors looked at each other with suspicion, the bonds of trust irrevocably broken. Who could have committed such a heinous act, and why? The sun dipped below the horizon on June 9, 1912, casting long shadows over the town of Villisca. For the Moore family, it was an ordinary Sunday evening. The children, after a day of play and laughter, were tucked into their beds, their dreams filled with the innocence of youth. Josiah and Sarah Moore likely retired to their own room, unaware that these were to be their final moments of peace. Under the cover of darkness, a sinister figure crept towards the Moore residence. Armed with an axe, the intruder entered the house, their footsteps muffled by the night. What transpired within those walls remains a mystery, a chilling puzzle with pieces that refuse to fit. But one thing is certain, the Moore home, once a sanctuary of love and laughter, became a slaughterhouse. The following morning, the gruesome discovery of the 8 bodies sent shockwaves through Villisca. The townspeople, their faces etched with horror and disbelief, gathered outside the Moore residence, unable to comprehend the sheer brutality of the crime. The victims, their faces bludgeoned beyond recognition, lay silent in their beds, their dreams forever stilled. The murder weapon, an axe belonging to Josiah Moore, was found resting on the floor of the downstairs guest bedroom. Silent witness to the carnage, the scene was chaotic yet eerily silent, as if the house itself was holding its breath, unwilling to relive the horrors it had witnessed. The Moore family was a picture of American life in the early 20th century. Josiah, a well-respected businessman, owned the town's John Deere implement dealership. He was a pillar of the community, known for his strong work ethic and dedication to his family. Sarah, his wife, was a devoted homemaker, her life dedicated to nurturing their 4 beautiful children. Life in Villisca was simple, a stark contrast to the burgeoning urban centres of the time. Neighbours knew each other by name, children played freely in the streets. They were a devoutly religious family, active members of the local Presbyterian church. Sunday mornings were spent attending services, followed by family lunches. The children, each with their unique personalities, were the apples of their parents' eyes. Herman, the eldest, was a bright and inquisitive boy, always eager to learn. Catherine, a gentle soul, possessed a quiet strength and a love for animals. Boyd, full of mischief and energy, brought laughter to everyone around him. And little Paul, the baby of the family, was doted on by all. Their story is a poignant reminder of the fragility of life. The events of June 9th, 1912, shattered the tranquility of this small Iowa town. The sun shone brightly over Villisca on June 9th, 1912. It was an ordinary Sunday, and for the children of the Moore family, a day filled with the simple joys of childhood. Earlier that day, the Moore children, along with many other children from the community, had attended the annual Children's Day services at the Presbyterian Church. Dressed in their finest attire, their voices joined in hymns and songs, their laughter echoing through the church halls. After the service, Josiah and Sarah invited two of Catherine's friends, Lena and Ina Stillinger, to stay the night. The girls, thrilled at the prospect of a sleepover, eagerly accepted the invitation. The house buzzed with the energy of 6 children, their laughter a stark contrast to the sinister events that would soon unfold. Herman and Boyd, inseparable as always, chased each other around the spacious yard, their playful shouts carried on the warm summer breeze. Catherine, Lena and Ina giggled as they played with their dolls on the porch swing, their imaginations weaving stories of princesses and faraway lands. Little Paul, his tiny hand clutching his favourite toy, toddled after his siblings, his infectious laughter bringing smiles to the faces of his parents. As the afternoon wore on, Sarah prepared a hearty supper for the children, the aroma of freshly baked bread and roasted meat filling the air. The children, their faces flushed with excitement and the day's adventures, gathered around the large dining table, their chatter and laughter a testament to their innocence and joy. This simple act of family togetherness, a scene played out in countless homes across America, would be their last. As dusk settled over Villisca, casting long shadows across the moor's well-kept lawn, the children, weary from their day of play, prepared for bed. Sarah helped Lena and Ina settle into the downstairs guest bedroom, their giggles muffled by the soft feather pillows. Upstairs, Josiah read bedtime stories to Herman, Catherine and Boyd, their young minds lulled by his soothing voice and the familiar tales. With the children tucked into their beds, Josiah and Sarah retired to their own room, the day's events slowly fading into the quiet hum of a summer night. The house was still, the only sounds the gentle chirping of crickets outside and the soft snores of 6 sleeping children. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting family, a dark figure lurked in the shadows, their arrival marked by an eerie silence, a chilling stillness that settled over the house like a shroud. Sometime between the hours of midnight and dawn, evil crept into the Moore home. The peace of that warm summer night was shattered by the sound of an axe, its sharp blade falling with deadly precision. The killer, their face hidden in the darkness, moved silently from room to room, leaving a trail of unimaginable carnage in their wake. The details of that horrific night, the precise sequence of events, remain shrouded in mystery. What is known is that each victim was struck multiple times with the blunt force of the axe, their faces brutally disfigured, their lives extinguished in a storm of violence that defied comprehension. The house, once filled with the sounds of laughter and life, fell silent, the air thick with the stench of blood and the heavy weight of death. As dusk settled over Villisca, casting long shadows across the moor's well-kept lawn, the children, weary from their day of play, prepared for bed. Sarah helped Lena and Ina settle into the downstairs guest bedroom, their giggles muffled by the soft feather pillows. Upstairs, Josiah read bedtime stories to Herman, Catherine and Boyd, their young minds lulled by his soothing voice and the familiar tales. With the children tucked into their beds, Josiah and Sarah retired to their own room, the day's events slowly fading into the quiet hum of a summer night. The house was still, the only sounds the gentle chirping of crickets outside and the soft snores of 6 sleeping children. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting family, a dark figure lurked in the shadows, their arrival marked by an eerie silence, a chilling stillness that settled over the house like a shroud. Sometime between the hours of midnight and dawn, evil crept into the Moore home. The peace of that warm summer night was shattered by the sound of an axe, its sharp blade falling with deadly precision. The killer, their face hidden in the darkness, moved silently from room to room, leaving a trail of unimaginable carnage in their wake. The details of that horrific night, the precise sequence of events, remain shrouded in mystery. What is known is that each victim was struck multiple times with the blunt force of the axe, their faces brutally disfigured, their lives extinguished in a storm of violence that defied comprehension. The house, once filled with the sounds of laughter and life, fell silent, the air thick with the stench of blood and the heavy weight of death. In the aftermath of the murders, whispers of strange occurrences on the evening of June 9th began to circulate among the townspeople. Some neighbours reported seeing a suspicious man lurking near the Moore residence earlier that day, his demeanour unsettling, his eyes filled with a strange intensity. Others recalled hearing unusual noises coming from the house that night, muffled thuds, the sound of footsteps on the porch, but dismissed them as nothing out of the ordinary. One particular account, shrouded in chilling detail, came from a neighbour who claimed to have seen an eerie light emanating from the Moore house late that night. The light, unlike anything they had witnessed before, flickered and danced in the windows, casting grotesque shadows on the walls of the surrounding houses. Whether this light was a figment of an overactive imagination fueled by fear and speculation, or a genuine paranormal occurrence, remains a subject of debate to this day. Adding to the growing sense of unease were the whispers of strange premonitions experienced by some of the children who had attended the Children's Day services earlier that day. Some spoke of a sudden feeling of dread, a sense of overwhelming sadness that washed over them during the service. Others claimed to have seen fleeting shadows, dark figures lurking at the edges of their vision. But these accounts were often dismissed as childish fears, amplified by the tragedy that had befallen their community. While these whispers and shadows may have been nothing more than the products of fear and speculation, they contributed to the growing mythology surrounding the Villisca axe murder house, fueling the belief that the events of that night were not merely the result of a human act, but perhaps something more sinister, something that defied rational explanation. Section 1. A Gruesome Discovery. The morning after the sun rose on June 10, 1912, casting a warm, golden glow over Villisca, Iowa. It was a stark contrast to the chilling reality that lay hidden within the walls of the Moore residence. The tranquility of the morning was shattered when Mary Peckham, a neighbour of the Moores, noticed something amiss. The shades, usually drawn up by Sarah each morning, remained tightly shut. A sense of unease crept over Mary, a creeping dread that something was terribly wrong. Mary, unable to shake the feeling of foreboding, called upon Ross Moore, Josiah's brother, who lived nearby. Together they approached the silent house, their hearts pounding with a growing sense of dread. Ross, using his key, unlocked the front door, stepping into the stillness of the house. The air hung heavy, thick with a cloying metallic scent that sent chills down their spines. As they moved through the house, their steps echoing in the unnerving silence, they were met with a scene of unimaginable horror. The downstairs guest bedroom, where Lena and Ina Stillinger had been sleeping, was their first terrifying discovery. The two girls, their bodies battered beyond recognition, lay in the bed, their dreams forever silenced. Upstairs, the scene was no less gruesome. Josiah and Sarah Moore were found brutally murdered in their own bed, their faces bearing the brunt of the attacker's rage. In the children's room, a scene of unimaginable cruelty unfolded. Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and little Paul, their innocent faces frozen in eternal sleep, had suffered the same gruesome fate. Section 2. The Crime Scene. Pieces of a Shattered Night. The news of the murders spread through Villisca like wildfire, leaving a trail of shock and disbelief in its wake. The townspeople, their faces etched with horror, gathered outside the Moor residence, unable to comprehend the sheer brutality of the crime. Law enforcement officials, their faces grim, descended upon the house, their every step measured, their eyes scanning the scene for any clue that might lead them to the perpetrator of this heinous act. Inside the house, the scene was chaotic yet eerily still. Furniture lay overturned, bed-sheets were ripped from their frames, and bloodstains, dark and ominous, stained the floors and walls. The murder weapon, an axe belonging to Josiah Moore, lay discarded on the floor of the downstairs guest bedroom, its blade still bearing the grim evidence of the night's carnage. Every room told a silent story of violence and terror. In the kitchen, a half-eaten bowl of uneaten food sat on the table, a chilling reminder of the normalcy that preceded the horrific events. Upstairs, in the children's room, toys lay scattered on the floor, a heartbreaking testament to the lives cut short, the innocence lost. Despite the chaos, certain details stood out to the investigators, chilling clues that hinted at the killer's meticulous planning and cold-blooded efficiency. The doors to the house had been locked from the inside, suggesting the killer had either entered through a window or had been let in by someone within the house. The curtains in every room were drawn shut, shrouding the house in darkness, shielding the gruesome acts from the prying eyes of the outside world. Section 3. 8 Souls Lost, the Victims and Their Untimely End. The 8 victims of the Villisca axe murders were more than just names. They were a family, friends, individuals whose laughter and love once filled the house on 508 East 2nd Street. Josiah, the family patriarch, was remembered for his strong work ethic and dedication to his community. Sarah, a loving wife and mother, was known for her kind heart and unwavering faith. Their children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd and Paul, were the heart and soul of the Moore family. Lena and Ina Stillinger, Catherine's friends, were innocent victims caught in unimaginable horror. The brutal murder of these 8 souls sent shockwaves through Villisca and beyond. Section 4. The town holds its breath. Fear and suspicion grip Villisca. The murders at the Moore residence cast a long, dark shadow over Villisca, Iowa. The once peaceful town was now gripped by fear and suspicion. The brutal murders left the townspeople questioning their once tranquil existence. Whispers of the murders followed the townspeople like a chilling wind. Conversations were held in hushed tones. Doors bolted shut before nightfall. The streets fell silent, the only sounds the creaking of porch swings and rustling leaves. As days turned into nights, suspicion began to fester among the townspeople. Rumors spread like wildfire, fueled by fear and speculation. Neighbors looked at each other with distrust, their once familiar faces now masks of suspicion. Every stranger was met with wary glances, their every move scrutinized. The murders shattered the innocence of a community. The once unbreakable bonds of trust had been severed, replaced by fear and paranoia. Villisca, once a symbol of tranquility, was now a community holding its breath, fearing the darkness. Section 1. A town on trial, the investigation begins. The Villisca axe murders sent shockwaves through the nation. 8 souls, including 6 children, brutally slain in their sleep, captured the nation's attention. Villisca, Iowa, was thrust into the national spotlight. Law enforcement officials, determined to bring the perpetrator to justice, descended upon Villisca. The investigation was thorough, exhaustive, yet ultimately frustrating. Every clue seemed to lead to a dead end. The pressure mounted with each passing day. The crime scene yielded a wealth of evidence, yet no clear suspect emerged. Fingerprints, smudged and incomplete, offered little help. The murder weapon, an axe, provided no clear link to the killer. The killer moved with precision and stealth, leaving few traces. The investigation consumed the town of Villisca. Every resident became a potential witness. The investigation felt like a trial, with the town itself in the dock. Section 2. In the crosshairs, the suspects emerge. As the investigation into the Villisca axe murders intensified, several suspects emerged. Some were disgruntled business associates, jealous neighbors, or distant relatives. Investigators meticulously pursued each lead. Frank Jones, a rival businessman, was a prime suspect. However, he provided a credible alibi. Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher, also drew suspicion. Kelly exhibited strange behavior and left town after the murders. The town of Villisca became a breeding ground for suspicion and mistrust. Residents eagerly pointed fingers, offering their own theories. Section 3. Shadows of Doubt, the Reverend George Kelly's story. Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher, quickly emerged as a prime suspect in the Villisca murders. Haunted by his own demons, Kelly's erratic behavior and conflicting accounts cast a long shadow of doubt. Section 4. Dead Ends and False Leads, the investigation stalls. The investigation into the Villisca axe murders lost momentum as weeks turned into months. Despite law enforcement's best efforts, the case remained unsolved. Leads led to dead ends and suspects were cleared. The town of Villisca began to fracture under the weight of suspicion. The murder weapon yielded no fingerprints, no DNA. The whispers of doubt grew louder, poisoning relationships. The Villisca axe murders became a divisive force, a constant reminder of the evil that visited their town. Section 5. Justice Eludes. The Villisca axe murders remain unsolved. Despite numerous investigations, the Villisca axe murders remain an open wound in American crime history. The killer's identity and motives remain a mystery, never brought to justice. The house at 508 East 2nd Street stands as a chilling reminder of the horrific crime. The Villisca axe murders have inspired books, documentaries, and paranormal investigations. The house is now a macabre tourist destination, drawing curiosity seekers. For the victims' families, the pain and unanswered questions remain. The Villisca axe murders remind us that darkness can strike anywhere, any time. The Moore residence, site of the 1912 tragedy, became a magnet for the curious. Whispers of strange occurrences spread, tales of flickering lights, disembodied voices, and ghostly figures. Paranormal enthusiasts flocked to the house, now a beacon for those seeking the unexplained. As the reputation of the Villisca axe murder house as a paranormal hotspot grew, so too did the presence of those seeking to document the unexplained phenomena occurring within its walls. Paranormal investigators, armed with EMF readers, EVP recorders, and a healthy dose of skepticism, descended upon the house, eager to capture evidence of the spirits rumoured to roam its halls. Their findings, often documented in chilling detail and disseminated through grainy photographs, audio recordings, and hastily scribbled notes, only served to further cement the house's reputation as a hotbed of paranormal activity. EVP recordings, captured in the dead of night, revealed disembodied voices, whispers too faint to discern with the naked ear, yet undeniably present when played back at increased volume. EMF meters, designed to detect fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, spiked erratically in certain areas of the house, particularly in the bedrooms where the Moore family and their guests met their untimely demise. These unexplained energy surges, often attributed to the presence of spirits, sent chills down the spines of even the most seasoned investigators. Cameras set up to capture photographic evidence of the unexplained snapped photos revealing strange anomalies. Shadowy figures lurking at the edge of the frame, orbs of light dancing in the darkness, and inexplicable mists swirling in the air as if the very atmosphere within the house was alive with unseen energy. Beyond the cold, hard data collected by paranormal investigators, it was the personal accounts of those who dared to spend the night within the walls of the Villisca axe murder house that truly sent shivers down the spines of those brave enough to listen. These tales, often shared in hushed tones around campfires or whispered in the darkness of late-night sleepovers, painted a vivid, an often terrifying picture of the unseen forces at play within the house. Some overnight guests told of feeling a child's hand tugging at their sheets in the dead of night, their names whispered with a playful lilt that belied the gruesome nature of their demise. Others spoke of waking in a cold sweat, their bodies paralyzed with fear as they felt the weight of an unseen presence pressing down on their chests, their breath stolen by an overwhelming sense of dread. There were those who claimed to have seen full-bodied apparitions, a man, his face obscured by shadow, pacing restlessly at the foot of the bed, a woman, her eyes filled with a sorrow that transcended time, weeping silently in the corner of the room. Children, their laughter echoing through the halls, their playful antics a stark contrast to the gruesome nature of their deaths. Whether these accounts were the product of overactive imaginations fueled by fear and the power of suggestion, or genuine encounters with the restless spirits of those who lost their lives on that fateful night, one thing remained certain. The Villisca axe murder house held secrets, whispers of a tragedy that time itself couldn't erase. The Spectre of Revenge. Was it a crime of passion or cold-blooded calculation? The brutality of the Villisca axe murders, coupled with the lack of a clear motive and the subsequent failure to bring the perpetrator to justice, has fueled endless speculation about the identity of the killer and the forces that drove them to commit such a heinous act. One theory that has gained traction over the years is that the murders were an act of revenge, a calculated strike born from a simmering resentment that finally boiled over on that fateful night in June 1912. Josiah Moore, a successful businessman and prominent figure in the Villisca community, was not without his detractors. His business dealings, while generally considered above board, had earned him his fair share of enemies over the years. Whispers of shady land deals, unpaid debts, and ruthless negotiation tactics followed him like a shadow, hinting at a darker side to the otherwise respected businessman. Could one of these slighted individuals, their pride wounded, their finances crippled by Moore's actions, have sought revenge in the most brutal and permanent way imaginable? The meticulous nature of the crime, the cold-blooded efficiency with which the murders were carried out, suggests a level of planning and premeditation that goes beyond a simple crime of passion. Was the killer someone who had carefully studied Moore's movements, who knew the layout of the house, the routines of the family, and who waited for the perfect moment to strike, their hearts filled with a cold, calculating rage that only years of simmering resentment could foster? The possibility, however unsettling, cannot be ignored. The Axeman Cometh, exploring the theory of a serial killer's gruesome handiwork. The Villisca axe murders, with their chilling brutality, suggest a serial killer's handiwork. An axe, methodical killings, and no personal connection hint at a drifter's bloody spree. Early 20th century America saw many itinerant criminals hidden behind false identities. Driven by poverty or darkness, they preyed on vulnerable communities. Could the Villisca axe murders be the work of such a transient killer? Similar axe murders across the country support this chilling theory. Perhaps the killer saw in the Moore family a reflection of their own demons. The possibility of a serial killer in Villisca adds a chilling layer to the mystery. The enduring grip of a Midwestern nightmare, Villisca's legacy. The Villisca axe murder house stands as a chilling monument to a crime that continues to haunt the American psyche. More than a century has passed since that horrific night in 1912, yet the echoes of that violence still reverberate through the quiet streets of Villisca, Iowa. The murders, with their brutal efficiency and haunting lack of resolution, have become a cautionary tale. The house at 508 East 2nd Street serves as a physical manifestation of our collective fear. The enduring fascination with the Villisca axe murders speaks to our primal need to make sense of the senseless. We are drawn to stories like this to understand the darkness that resides within us all. Villisca, Iowa will forever be linked to the horrific crime that stained its history. But it is also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The town has endured, its residents finding strength in community and shared history. 508 East 2nd Street, a house frozen in time. The Villisca axe murder house stands as a macabre monument to a horrific crime. Paranormal enthusiasts flock here, eager to document unexplained phenomena. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the house exudes an undeniable energy, a chilling beacon in the heartland of America, its secrets waiting to be unlocked.